Happy New Year! I know this technically is a little off. I mean, like when I'm doing this recording, it is actually the 2nd of January, but I have to do this because I didn't get to do a video the entire time between Christmas and New Year's, and I really actually needed to do this video because I didn't actually realize how soon this was coming. You may notice that I said that today is the 2nd of January of 2024. Well, guess what tomorrow is? This is Kat the Crowing Author here at the Magic Library, and today I'm going to be talking about, well, my book. Why? Well, my book drops tomorrow. It has been quite a year in 2023. And for some reason, I don't expect 2024 to be all that different from last year in terms of how chaotic it's going to be. I expect it to be neutrally chaotic. There will be good things, there will be bad things, there will be surprising things, and then there will be things that it's just like, I should have seen that coming. With all the stuff that happened last year, nothing should surprise me anymore. So I expect everything to be neutral. But more than that, I expect this year to be very fruitful for my work. At the time of filming this, it is January 2nd of 2024, and tomorrow is very, very important. The first book of my trilogy that is the sequel to Arboriah Lux, SERAPHIM Awakening, is dropping tomorrow, and it is going to be available in paperback and ebook. You have no idea how many takes I had to do to get that across. Oh, I'm still so tired. But either way, it is very important to talk about the book a little bit, considering I didn't really get a chance to do a lot of character trailers or book trailers for it, and I certainly didn't talk about the characters like I did for Arboriah Lux, so that's basically what this is. I do think I've talked about SERAPHIM Awakening before. I talked about certain details of it, but I don't think I ever went into details as to what the world is like, the characters, and all that. So that's basically what this is going to be. My goal with this video is hopefully to encourage you to just give my book a try, to let your mind just seep into the world as it spins this tale of intrigue and mystery and just, I wouldn't necessarily say drama, but there's going to be a lot of trauma, there's going to be a lot of drama, and there's going to be, there's going to be some definite character development. So let's get on into the video. Okay, so the first thing that we should talk about is the world itself, and this world is basically still the same as Arboriah Lux, but it takes place in a more modern setting. There are no hell steeds pulling wagons anymore or carriages. It's all motorized vehicles, so there's that. The city of Obsidia Terma has expanded so much, and it has actually undergone a renaming. It is now called Arboriah City, and unfortunately there's still a little bit of a problem of superiority complex among the citizens. In the middle of the city, you have these tall buildings of glass and steel, but as you go to the outskirts and everything, you see how as you go to mid-city and the outskirts, you see how things change. You see how it goes from the elite to the middle class to the poverty-stricken, and it basically shows that things always seem to go full circle and come back around to how things were. There are not only just vampires and Dampier and humans and half demons and, well, some demons in the city. There are also other places. There are also other races along with everything. You have half witches who are basically half human, half demon, and they half human and half demon, and they are basically humans with the ability to do magic, but their magic isn't very potent, not like it was for the Morgenstern family. I don't really have a lot of characters to showcase this, but they're more called like a more human name for half demons. So there's that. And of course, magic like this does have a certain mutation, and one such mutation is the emergence of wolf shifters. How ironic is that? Wolf shifters are basically the minority of the city, but at the same time, they're probably one of the more populous races in the entirety of the city because of their mutation. They're not able to spread their strain of whatever magic they have. It's more passed down through birth. And this mutation comes from a direct lineage to Arboriah Lux and Asila Solani, which you'll find out a little bit later about how the characters in Arboriah Lux actually sort of make an appearance in the Seraphim trilogy, but I'll get into that later. Most wolf shifters actually live in a community sort of on the outskirts of the city, and it is called the Den. The Den is this community where they can all sort of be they can all just sort of be together, and they don't have to worry about the discrimination that comes with their bloodline and the task that they have. A task that some of them seem to have actually forgotten because of their upbringing. As to what this task is, you'll have to read Seraphim Awakening to find out what. And also, the citizens of the city of Terma and the Den are not the only places that we see here in Seraphim Awakening. Where the royal estate once stood, now stands a organization called Cathedral, more specifically Cathedral Contra Malum, which basically means it's a cathedral against evil. And it's meant to be a peacekeeping organization to help keep society stable. It's meant to foster peace between certain races and between certain groups of people. And of course, as you can probably guess, they are used as a tool for the big bad. Of course. And it's in Cathedral that we actually meet one of our characters, one of our main characters, and we meet several others, actually. So there's that. Remember, and Cathedral is, don't get me wrong, Cathedral is a beautiful place, especially with all the renovations done to it and everything to keep it how it looked back in the days of Arboriah Lux. It still has a bit of intrigue and mystery. There's still something about the place that makes people look up at it in awe instead of seeing it on equal ground. Besides Cathedral, there are two other organizations that are sort of mostly used as plot devices, and I don't mean for them to be plot devices, it's just how that it came to be when I was writing the story. One such organization is called the Blackwing Group, and the Blackwing Group is an organization sort of like Cathedral, but they don't necessarily keep the peace. They act more as a haven and sanctuary for the downtrodden minorities and peoples of Obsidia Terma that have to deal with the elitism that is still there, that still runs rampant in the streets. And let's just say that it's filled with And of course, it being the Blackwing group, it's got a number of people that are a part of it. You have some vampires, you have some wolf shifters, you have some half witches, you have some half demons, and you also have some humans. But I need to make it clear, humans are actually a very, 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 very minor group in the city, sort of how like they were in Arboriah Lux. Ironically, just that's I'll explain this later. It's in the Blackwing group that we meet another one of our main characters and some of the people that support her in all of this. And also it's to keep the memory of the one who raised her alive. And it's very sad because of how she has to deal with everything, but she wants there to be peace, but she doesn't know how to go about it. But more importantly, she's looking for a way to find something that she's lost, and in a way, she's sort of terrified of it. But you'll get all of this in the first book, and the second and third will be a little bit more detailed in how they go about changing this, and also the darkness that sort of enraptures some of these characters. And not willingly. The third and final group that I'm going to be talking about is a religious commune. Now, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against people's faiths or religions or anything like that, but let's just say that my deep hatred for, or not hatred, deep discomfort for people who love to shove their opinions down people's throats definitely culminates in how I wrote out The Rising. Because that's the name of the group. The name of the group is The Rising. It's not meant to be an innuendo. It's not meant to be anything really clever. It's meant just to be like, it's meant to be a sort of clue as to who runs the entire thing. Because the leader of The Rising is twisted, to say the least, and let's just say that he's got a lot on his plate and none of it is good. I'm about to get into characters in a little bit, but The Rising is a place where if you've seen any anime about religious groups and how manipulative they can be, especially cults and everything, you can sort of see where this is going. Just not in the way that some hardcore anime fans will be seeing, I would hope. But that's besides the point. Let's get into the characters that you're going to be meeting here in Seraphim Awakening and the rest of the trilogy. Okay, so I did do some mood boards for the characters of Seraphim Awakening and the other, and all throughout the trilogy. The only problem is that there are actually so many characters that I will not be able to go through all of them in depth, but I will be able to talk about them and basically the gist of what they are. So let's talk about our pair of protagonists that will in fact become love interests later on. Just, it's a very rocky road to get there. First, let's talk about the point of view of the first chapter, and that is Phoenix Bright. Phoenix Bright is a wolf shifter, and he is a wolf shifter sort of on the run from his past. Something happened in his past that he feels guilty about, but it's not for what you would probably think. It's probably for feeling guilty about feeling the lack of guilt for what happened. Like, he knows he should have at least have felt remorse and a sense of loss, but he didn't, and that's what sort of scares him. So after that and everything, he leaves his group and he becomes a member of Cathedral. He becomes a tracker, sort of a bottom rung agent. And he, let's just say that he sort of experiences full hands the amount of discrimination between the rest of the city and wolf shifters. Yeah. Phoenix comes from a very difficult background, and with more of his family than anything else. And let's just say that familial awareness sort of comes back to haunt him. And I say familial awareness because it's like you know how a parent treats a child with anger, and then when that child grows up, they sort of become angry. Yeah, that's basically what's going on here. Phoenix Bright has a younger brother named Joshua, and the relationship between the two of them is pretty good. I can't really say anything without spoiling it, but let's just say that it gets a little intense near the end of Seraphim Awakening. So yeah. But I'll talk about Joshua later on in this segment. Our second protagonist is one that's also sort of a part of my soul in a way. Okay. And her name is Zyla Colt. Zyla Colt is, you don't really know what she is in the beginning. You don't know what particular race she is. She sort of seems to have characteristics of all of them. Zyla is very, very headstrong, and she's very, very driven. She is driven towards this goal of finding someone that she's lost. And she's sort of haunted by a ghost in a way, a ghost that's in her head, but at the same time, the connection between the two of them was so deep and intrinsic that of course there's going to be a connection, especially like that. But you'll see what I mean when you sort of see things from her point of view in the story, in that she's sort of second guessing herself, but there's always that voice in the back of her head, that familiar voice that tells her that sometimes things change and you can't help that. So it's not exactly her conscience, but it's not exactly her being insane either. It is, it's actually, it's very, very sweet in a way, of how all this came about and everything. Originally it was not in the first manuscript, but as I was writing it and everything, it's like, it'd be really cool to have this in there. So I started writing it in there and everything, because because the voice that she's hearing is the voice of the man who raised her, and the man who raised her was a very kind vampire named Luca. I'll get to Luca later on, but Luca is a character that actually does have a lot of pull in this story, and it's because of Luca that she's able to do what she can. So with Luca later on down the line, let's talk about some of the other characters that we meet in this story. One of the characters that we meet is Irina, Zyla's younger twin sister. And let's just say that I don't know Irina's deal yet. Irina is a little bit of an enigma, because at some point she's like, I want to see my sister again, but at the same time I want to kill her. And it's very weird because how she's sort of warped after they were separated. Zyla and Irina both grew up in an orphanage called Lady Luxia's Home for Children, named after Silas' sister. It was specifically named because Luxia never got to raise her child, and she was never able to give birth to that child. So she's sort of seen as a patroness saint of children that need a home, and it's very, very sweet. But when Zyla and Arena were 9 years old, there was a fire in the orphanage, killing all of the staff and all of the children except for Zyla and Arena. And nobody really knows what caught the fire, how the building caught fire. But Zyla and Arena do escape, but they're separated from each other. And while Zyla escapes and is found by Luca and is taken in by Luca, Arena sort of is sort of coaxed into a darker path. And that darker path is the Rising. She was taken in by the Rising, and she was sort of made their priestess. And you may think this is weird, but I will explain it later, I swear. Arena definitely is an enigma, and why she's like this, even I don't know. But we do learn later on that Arena is battling sort of with herself, sort of like Zyla is, but hers is more of a battle of instinct. And when I explain this later on about why these two sisters are sort of destined to fight each other, you'll understand why. Enough about that little mystery of intrigue. Let's go on into some of the characters, primarily the secondary characters. One secondary character is on Phoenix's side, and on Phoenix's side, his partner is Jay Hazel. Jay Hazel is a vampire and is a 13th generation vampire. He doesn't like pushing his lineage. He's actually sort of a carefree guy. And he really cares about Phoenix. He cares about him a lot, almost like a blood brother in a way. Because he saw someone that needed a friend, that needed an ally. And he's the only one in the entirety of Cathedral, besides another person, that sort of treats him like an actual living person and not a tool. When everything goes down in the first few chapters, Jay is immediately concerned, and he wants to go after Phoenix. And he does sort of get the chance. He goes to the den later on and meets with the head of the den and the Bright Pack. And he also meets someone that he didn't expect, because at first he really didn't believe in the aspect of soulmates, but he meets this person here. And I will not get into it because I find that to be very, very sweet and everything, but it's just, it's adorable. On Zyla's side and everything, while for the most part she is a loner, let's talk about some of the people that she knows from her childhood and everything. And one of those people would have to be Brian Colt. Brian Colt is the younger brother of Luca, and when Luca took Zyla in, he gave her his last name so that she can remain hidden from those who were still looking for her. And when I say those that were still looking for her, it was not meant to be it's not necessarily a good thing. The people that were looking for her are evil, in a way. Not necessarily evil, they're more manipulated into being evil, you know, sort of like Medusa how Medusa does Krona in Soul Eater, like that. But I'll get to that later on. Brian Colt is a man-child. Think Mahito or Tomura Shigaraki and sort of combine them together, but it's mostly just fits of anger and a superiority complex that is just driven by pride. Driven by pride for no good reason, except for the fact of complete and utter jealousy. Luca doted on Zyla for a number of years before Luca eventually died. And while Brian wanted to go and take revenge, it was Zyla who went to do it. And after that, she became a leader of their group. You may be wondering what group it is and if it was one of the ones I mentioned before. It is. Luca and a number of followers who wanted equality for all of the races and species of Arboriah City created the Blackwing group. After Luca's death, there was sort of, not necessarily a power vacuum, but Luca's partner was in charge, and he wasn't able to, he wasn't able to act on the people who ended up killing Luca. But Zyla did. Zyla ended up doing what she did, and she ended up becoming the leader of the Blackwing group. It's sort of something that she doesn't want to do, but she's definitely helped out by this person who was so close with Luca. And Brian did not take that well. He did not accept anyone's orders except for Luca's, and I do believe that Brian is the reason why Luca's soul is very much at unrest. Don't worry, Brian does get his comeuppance in a weird way. And let's just say that he's sort of, not necessarily a MacGuffin character, but he's more of like a red herring. It's like he's a bad guy, but he's not the main bad guy, if that makes sense. Nevertheless, though, he's one of the many people that are actually looking for Zyla in the current storyline, and he has this obsession with her, and it's a weird line between familial obsession and romantic obsession, and you don't really know where he lands. But it's just, this character is an enigma. And I'm talking about like Enigma the Riddler, specifically because he's just, you don't know why he does what he does. He's more like a juvenile delinquent following the beat of his own drum, and that drum is about to go off the edge of the path, like tremendously, and he's about to go tumbling down and just die. So there's that. And for those wanting to save him, it was not a lack of trying that they did so. They just, Brian is way too stubborn to be saved. Another character that we see on Zyla's side is Avery. We don't know a lot about Avery in the first book, but we do know that he and Luca were tremendously close. And you'll understand how they were close in the second book. I can't wait to do that for him, to introduce that to everybody. It's going to be really good. But Avery, even behind the scenes, does end up helping Phoenix and Zyla out for a few of their tasks and everything, because in their current predicament, they are sort of Avery is the sort of father figure that Zyla needed when she was a child, but at the same time, she was very close with Luca and Avery, and Avery she trusts more than anybody in the entire world because of that connection that they share through Luca. Okay, let's stop talking about Zyla's side of the equation. Let's go back to Phoenix Brights, and let's talk about some of his family and his friends in the den. Let's talk about family, and let's talk about Joshua Bright. Joshua Bright is a leader, and he's been the leader of the Bright Pack and the Den for 5 years. And he's, it's just, you see him and you sort of want to smack him upside the head because he doesn't know how to not be a superior a-hole. I'm not about to spend this entire first episode of the year cussing up a storm, specifically because it wouldn't be worth it for a character who's like, it makes me wonder why I wrote him, but at the same time, without him, the story would just be bleh. Joshua is a character that you sort of understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's like, why are you doing this, and why are you doing it this way? There are so many easier ways to go about this. He just seems to choose the most violent, backstabbing way of doing so. As you can probably guess, Brian Colt and Joshua Bright are sort of two of the villains in this story, and let's just say they sort of live up to them in the way of being a nuisance. Joshua shows little to no remorse. I will say this, Joshua is a very weird character for me to write, specifically because it's like, I know how to write him, but at the same time, I don't know how to describe him. You're just gonna have to read the book and find out, I guess. But he's not exactly an enigma. He's just, it's like, he makes you wonder, it's like, why are you doing this? And why are you doing it this way? It's just, this guy, it's like, what have you done? What have you done to yourself? Why are you doing this? It's just, some of the characters in this, it's like, some of the villains and minor villains in this, it's like, gosh darn, it's like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this way? Just why? Just why? It's like, these are the just why villains, in a way. And unfortunately, for the past 5 years, someone who has had to put up with Joshua and his antics is a very, very headstrong healer named Lexishira Crescent. And yes, that is a name that is very, very long, but she goes by Lexi. Lexi, like I said before, is very, very, very headstrong, but she's also probably one of the most kind people that you'll ever meet. And she is she's married, and she's not necessarily married to Joshua, but they're not a mated pair. It was more of a political marriage, if anything. And it wasn't even official, but there's that. Lexi has to deal a lot with Joshua. She basically protects all of the people from his crazy antics, and he doesn't really appreciate her opinion on such matters, but he has to do it, but he has to go along with them to save face, because how the politics within Denmark is that leadership is shared between the male and female alpha, the male and female pair that lead. So the alpha and the Luna, sort of the same as any werewolf story that you've read, but it's sort of intricate here. Lexi is the older sister of two younger brothers. One of the brothers is Kaylin, and the other brother is Jeremy. Kaylin and Jeremy are, let's just say that they're two sides of the same coin. Jeremy is young and impulsive. Kaylin is mature and a lot more thoughtful in his actions. And let's just say that Kaylin has to do a lot to keep Jeremy in line. And I will say this, they actually do not show up in book 1. They make more of a presence in book 2. But there is a reason for that, and it's because of what the storyline of book 2 follows along. You'll get to it. I'll get to it when I start talking about it more, when the book is more near completion. So, I've gone through main characters. I've gone through Arena, who is raised by the Rising. I've gone through Brian, I've gone through Luca, I've gone through Avery, Joshua, Lexishira, Kaylin, and Jeremy. What other character am I missing? Oh, I'm missing 2, actually technically 3. Now it's time for these sort of mystery characters of the group, of this ensemble cast of mine. And the first one that we're going to be talking about is you don't know what this person is doing. And he's got 2 different names. But I'll go by what name he's known by most in the book. He is the director of Cathedral. His name is Caldwell, and he's got a few screws loose. That will probably tell you who he is. Another mystery character that we have is Oliver Graves. Oliver Graves is a character that sort of helps out the main cast, Zyla and Phoenix, and he is a man with a lot of remorse in his heart for what he was made to do, for what he was sort of made to do. And the reason he does this is probably for the most simple reason. It's because of family. And you don't know who his family is until book 2. But you can probably guess. Maybe. I'm not sure. You'd be surprised, I think. And last but not least, we have the one person who you don't know all that much about, but you do see her a lot in Seraphim Awakening. And this woman she has long white hair. She has cyan blue eyes that are sort of iridescent like marbles, and she wears this light blue riding cloak. You do not learn her name until later on, but she is very important, and she seems to know things about the characters that even they don't let others be privy to. We first see her in the prologue, and she is the one that sort of sets everything in motion, but she does it sort of unintentionally. And she does it, and she desperately tries to fix it. She's responsible for a lot of good things, but also a lot of mysterious things. And some people don't understand and the people in the story don't understand how she's able to do these things or how she knows what she knows. But I will say this, she does the things that she does because she believes in Zyla and in Phoenix, because she knows that they're probably the only ones that can do this. And I think you're going to love her character. I know I certainly do. But yeah, I think that's all the characters. So you may be wondering what this entire story is doing and how it comes into play. Well, like I said in the last segment, this mystery character number 3, who you don't learn the name of until book 2, she has a vision that sort of sets everything in motion, and that vision is that when a comet arrives at the same time as a full pink as the full pink moon and an eclipse, or during the summer solstice, then 2 halves of each other will be forced to fight one another, and they'll be basically forced to fight till the death, and the death of one will give the victor the other one's wing. They will be known as the beginning of Seraphim. This entire prophecy is what sets everything in motion, and the reason I wrote it that way is actually sort of unique in a way. There's a common belief that I've seen to be true, is that those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. But at the same time, the one who tries to desperately avoid a situation ends up creating it. And that is basically how, and those 2 things are basically the theme of this entire series, of this entire trilogy, because we see how things have sort of returned to the way how society has sort of returned to the way things were in Arboriah Lux, just on a more subtler note. And we also see that a situation has arisen because of actions taken to actually avoid it. And it's intense. It's incredibly intense. In the world of Arboriah Lux and everything, and how these characters interact with each other and how things are basically woven through the city, you learn a lot about society that they live in, but also you learn a lot about the characters. You see what these characters are going through. Like Phoenix has to deal with his guilt of lack of guilt, if that makes sense. Zyla has to deal with the inner struggle of finding her sister, and at the same time defending herself from the forces that are trying to keep them apart. And you see how all of this sort of culminates in this adventure of murder, mystery, and intrigue. And it's, like I said before, it's intense. It's more intense than I intended it to be, but I'm a discovery writer, and I like things to be gritty, but at the same time, I like things to be there. I think you'll like it when you see how I've written the story and everything. And it's going to be intense in terms of dark fantasy, because there will be some aspects in here, there will be some themes in here that you may be a little uncomfortable with, but at the same time, life is uncomfortable. And I try to take bits and pieces from life and make them and put them in the story to make the story as real as possible. Because it's unfortunate, but some of the things that you do see in my stories actually do happen in real life. For example, in Arboriah Lux, I did a number of different references to actual historical events, like the Salem witch trials, to the murders of Jack the Ripper, to the elitist class system of Victorian England, and it's stuff that's happened in the past, but at the same time we sort of see semblances of those in here in the present. We see discrimination towards people for beliefs or just for being different. We see discrimination towards people because of what income they have or what race they are. We see people absolutely being brutal to one another for seemingly no reason, just because it was just seen that they were wired that way. And in Seraphim Awakening and the rest of the Seraphim trilogy, it's no different. We see how Zyla struggles with being alone and how she sort of has to force herself to open up because she knows that's what she has to do to survive. We see her survival instincts at war with her compassion. We see Phoenix and his guilt over not being guilty over what happened in the past and how he's sort of trying to find himself because of it. We see we just see that a lot. We see these two characters collide in more ways than one, and at first it's a little rocky, but it smooths out as it goes. And it's one of the reasons why I love writing stories like this. I like to pit people against each other and sort of force them to work with each other, but at the same time it flows so smoothly. And that is why I hope you guys will enjoy Seraphim Awakening and the rest of the Seraphim trilogy. I did a lot of work for this one, and I made sure to really put my best foot forward. I learned a lot from the first time in doing Arboriah Lux and doing Seraphim Awakening now, and I'm still learning with how I do Seraphim Bloodlines and how I will eventually do Seraphim Requiem. And it's been a very interesting journey, and with 2024 now in full swing, I hope to continue it. I hope to continue my passions for writing, for artwork, and for my entire creative journey. And I hope you guys will follow along as well. And I think that is enough for this video. I have so much to share with you about Seraphim Awakening, and I will hopefully be doing a live stream for the release soon. I won't be able to do it tomorrow because I actually don't have any author copies of the book. I really wanted to have a case of the book so that everybody was that entered the giveaway and everything would be able to have a copy, but I didn't get, but I was a little overwhelmed at the end of the year, so I didn't get a chance to work through it. But I will let you guys know when I have the books, and I will let you, and I will hopefully be able to show you guys how they look and everything and what they are. So yeah. So if you are following my socials, or you're a member of the Discord or my writing group, I will make sure to put updates to the Sweepstakes giveaway in there and wherein the book launch live stream will be. I'm hoping it will be this weekend. If not, it will probably be next weekend or sometime next week. So just keep your ears open and keep an eye on all my socials. Thank you guys so much for watching and everything. I really hope you enjoyed this sort of, not necessarily a deep dive into Seraphim Awakening, but to see what you'll expect and everything. Sort of like a tour, not necessarily behind the scenes, but a tour through the main bits of Seraphim Awakening. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was really fun and everything. It's humbling to see how far I've come in the 2 years that I've started this journey. Last year I started it, and it was last year I started this journey with Arboriah Lux, publishing it and also doing my YouTube channel and all that. And then I finished Seraphim Awakening last year, or the end of last year, and it's coming out January 3rd, tomorrow, and it's just been an incredible journey, and I can't wait for it to continue. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video, and also share it to other people that you think would like my stories. Show it to your book friends, show it to your writer friends, show it to people who you think would enjoy a dark fantasy story that has bits of the paranormal and the supernatural, and bits of mystery and intrigue, and a little bit of realism that you don't really see in a lot of dark fantasies like this. And it's just like, I love immersive fiction, and that's primarily why I do what I do. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, Seraphim Awakening drops tomorrow, and I hope you guys will go and buy a copy of the book, or get a copy of the ebook, and I hope you guys will enjoy it, because it's again one of my book babies and everything, and I want you guys to enjoy it. And of course, if you like Seraphim Awakening, I hope you'll go back to the beginning of this writer journey of mine and go to Arboriah Lux to read and see how those two time periods interconnect with each other, because there are a lot of Easter eggs that are in Seraphim Awakening that pertains to Arboriah Lux, and I hope you guys will enjoy that as well. I'll leave the links for both of those down in the description below. They will both take you to Amazon, and I hope you will enjoy. If you want to support my channel in other ways besides liking, sharing, subscribing, and just leaving, and of course just leaving a comment and being the awesome people that you are, you can also do it somewhat financially. I have a Ko-Fi account that basically allows you to leave tips for the work that I do. There is also my merch store that has a lot of merch for stuff that I do on the channel, but also for Arboriah Lux. I'm still coming up with designs for Seraphim Awakening, but I think those will be interesting and I hope you guys will enjoy them. And also you can show your support by following all of my socials. I am not that active on social media. That one of my resolutions for this channel is for me to be more active on social media, to get my name out there, to get my stories out there and everything. So I hope you guys will bear with me. I have a Discord server and a writers and readers group on Facebook, and you can go and join those down in the description below. And you can also follow my social links and everything. I have an author page on Facebook. I have x.com or Twitter. I have an Instagram page, and I also have a TikTok. And I'm actually about to go do a little bit of a thing for TikTok because I didn't get a chance to do it. I didn't get a chance to do it before the end of the year, and that was one of the things I wanted to do, but I'm very, very self-conscious whenever my parents are in the house, and let's just say that I didn't want to be awkward and everything. So thank you guys so much for watching and everything. I hope you guys enjoy what I've written. I hope you guys will stick around for the rest of the journey. And I hope you guys have a wonderful beginning of your year. And I hope it's a change, a positive change from whatever negativity you felt last year. This is Kat the Crow-Winged Author here at the Magic Library, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.